Night presses against the underground command bunker in Tokyo like a closed fist, humid, unmoving, heavy with the residue of firebombed districts still smoldering miles away.
The air tastes faintly of ash and old ink.
The kind that stains fingertips and never fully washes off. A low electrical hum vibrates from the overhead lights, their yellow glow flickering over a table crowded with maps, pencils worn to stubs, and cups of tea gone cold hours ago. General Toranaga Konoe sits with his shoulders rounded forward, exhaustion pooling beneath his eyes. His uniform, once crisp, now clings to his back with a dampness that feels like dread. He runs a thumb along the coastline of Honshu on the map before him, seeking stability, something fixed, something that still obeys the rules of the world he understands. A clerk bursts into the room, breath sharp, sandals slapping the polished floor. In his hand, a thin telegram sheet trembles violently, not from the draft, but from his grip. He bows, stammering. "General." Hiroshima has gone silent. Konoe doesn't react at first. Silence is common during raids. Interference, damaged lines, temporary outages. He waits for the clerk to continue. But the young man's throat works around words he cannot shape. "No transmission, sir. Not from military stations. Not from civil networks. Nothing at all since 0815. The room tilts. Or maybe that's just Konoe's pulse, sluggish and loud. A pencil snaps in someone's hand. Another officer's breath catches audibly, harsh against the bunker's stone walls. Konoe forces a question through tightening lips. "Is this confirmed?" The clerk nods once. Too fast, too frightened. Cities do not go silent. Not like this. Not all at once. Not without warning. Konoe reaches for a cigarette but drops the match. His fingers refuse to obey him. The officers watch their commander's trembling hands, and an unspoken truth begins to seep through the room like cold fog. Something unnatural has happened. Something unprecedented. Something the Empire is not prepared to understand. Outside, a distant temple bell tolls, soft, wavering, almost mournful. Its echo sinking into the bunker like a prophecy none of them want to name. The emergency liaison train leaves Tokyo at 0320, its wheels shrieking against the tracks like something wounded. Inside the dimly lit carriage, General Konoe sits stiffly, his cap resting beside him untouched. The window beside him is open just enough to let in the night wind. Thick, hot, carrying the sour smell of burned rubber from distant industrial ruins. Each gust presses against his face like a reminder that the world outside is unraveling. Opposite him sits Colonel Shimizu, younger, with sharp features that usually convey confidence. Tonight they sag slightly, like clay beginning to lose its shape. He clutches a leather folder to his chest, knuckles pale. "Sir," he murmurs, "it could be a communications failure. We've seen them before." Konoe doesn't answer. Words feel fragile, useless, like trying to explain thunder to a child. With a handful of dust, the train lurches. Lanterns sway overhead. Shadows ripple like black water across the officers' faces. Shimizu clears his throat again, but the uncertainty in his voice betrays him. There must be survivors, someone, somewhere, even. After large raids, there are always transmissions. "Not this time," Konoe whispers. The phrase tastes bitter, like swallowing metal filings. He reaches into his coat for his diary, a small, cloth-bound book, its corners softened by years of war. He opens to a blank page and stares at it, trying to summon words. But the emptiness of the page feels too familiar, too much like Hiroshima's silence. Finally, with a slow, halting hand, he writes, "Something has happened beyond our knowing. The kind of silence that feels alive." The train barrels south through valleys still cloaked in darkness. Villages flicker by, roofs caved in, fields scarred with blackened soil. The war has already carved deep wounds into the land. But this new silence from Hiroshima feels different. Feels final. As dawn creeps over the horizon, pale and sickly, Konoe presses his cigarette case closed without taking one. His hands are trembling again. The closer they draw to Hiroshima's last known position on the map, the heavier the air seems to grow around them, as if the land itself knows what awaits. By late morning, the reconnaissance aircraft slices through a sky that looks strangely washed out, as if dawn itself is holding its breath. General Konoe grips the edges of his seat as the plane dips toward Hiroshima's coordinates. The world below, once familiar cities and river lines, now flickers beneath a haze that seems to swallow color and shape alike. A young flight officer leans toward the window first. His breath stops. His hand rises, fingers splayed against the glass, trembling. "General, the city, it's..." But there is no word that fits. Kanoi forces himself to look. Where Hiroshima should be, streets, barracks, tram lines. Markets alive with morning noise, there is only absence. A wide circle of leveled earth, the color of old bone. Not ruins, not debris, not wreckage like from bombs they have known. This is something else. He leans closer, squinting. Even from the air, the devastation feels unnatural, as if some invisible hand swept the city away in a single, unbroken motion. No buildings lean into shadows. No walls struggle to stand. Everything is flattened, crushed into a shimmering, grayish plain. Shimizu whispers, Where are the shadows of structures? Even after firebombings. Kanoi cuts him off. Firebombing does not erase cities. The aircraft circles lower. The heat rising from the ground wavers like a mirage. The crew squints against the glare. Something is reflecting sunlight. Thousands of tiny points. Glass? No, not whole pieces. Pebbles, sand, entire neighborhoods reduced to fragments, smaller than a fist. A heavy quiet fills the cockpit, thick as morning cloth. Kanoi's voice barely rises above the engine's hum. Send a message. Confirm condition. Total destruction. No visible survivors. The radio officer hesitates, not out of disobedience but disbelief. His hand hovers over the transmitter as if touching it will make the nightmare real. Kanoi closes his eyes for a moment. When he opens them again, they look older, creased by something deeper than exhaustion. This is no ordinary weapon, he murmurs almost to himself. This is something the world has never seen. Below them, Hiroshima's vanished cityscape glows pale and silent. A wound too large to fit inside language, too terrible to fully understand. The aircraft lands on a stretch of ground that was once the outskirts of Hiroshima, a place where schoolchildren once walked, where morning markets clattered to life. Now it resembles the surface of another planet. The soil crunches under boots, brittle and scorched. A warm, metallic smell rises from the earth like iron dragged through fire. Kanoi steps out first. The heat hits his face like an open furnace door. He shields his eyes and looks toward the city's center. There is no center, no street grid, no recognizable landmarks. The castle, the tram lines, the military headquarters, they are memories now. Erased so completely it hurts to imagine they were ever real. Colonel Shimizu walks beside him, hand pressed over his mouth. Every breath tastes burnt. He kneels suddenly, fingers brushing a patch of fused earth. It is glassy, rippled like frozen water. General, stone cannot melt this way, not even under incendiaries. Kanoi doesn't answer. He cannot. His throat feels strangled by the sight before him. A medic accompanying the reconnaissance team raises binoculars, scanning the horizon. His voice wavers. No movement, no bodies. Nothing recognizable. It's like everyone simply vanished. Vanished. The word clings to Kanoi like smoke. He forces his legs to move forward. Each step feels heavier than the last. The silence is suffocating, not the silence of an empty battlefield, but the silence of something taken in an instant. A silence that still hums faintly, as if the ground is holding onto the echo of the blast. Near what was once a residential block, Kanoi stops abruptly. A single object lies on the ground, a child's metal lunch tin, warped and half-melted. He crouches, fingertips brushing its edges. The metal is warm, too warm for midday. His jaw tightens. In his diary, he writes with hands that tremble more than he will ever admit. This is no weapon of men. This is annihilation made into light. Shimizu approaches, eyes red, though he is trying not to cry. General, if this weapon is used again, he cannot finish. Kanoi stares at the horizon where Hiroshima once lived, his voice barely a breath. Then Japan is already defeated. The return journey to Tokyo feels longer, heavier, as if the train itself struggles to pull the weight of what they have witnessed. Officers sit in rigid silence, each lost in the echo of Hiroshima's absence. No chatter, no clattering cups. Even the train wheels seem to soften their rhythm, rolling like muted drums of mourning. General Kanoi opens his diary again. His handwriting is jagged, words slanting as if even ink refuses to settle. The earth was hot beneath our boots. The silence was alive. No bodies, no sound, no shadows of buildings. Only the taste of burned air. Hiroshima is not destroyed. It is erased. He closes the book quickly, as if the page itself is painful. In the dining carriage, a small meal waits for them. Cold rice balls wrapped in seaweed. A few slices of pickled radish and weak barley tea. Rations are shrinking by the week. Hunger has become a normal ache. Officers eat slowly, mechanically. Shimizu picks at his rice ball, then sets it down, appetite gone. Sir, If this weapon can erase a city in seconds, what is left to defend? His voice cracks on defend, the word suddenly meaningless. Kanoi's eyes drift to the window where passing fields look brittle and empty. We must understand it first, he whispers. We must know what struck us before we can face the truth. But the truth is already clawing at him. The taste of Hiroshima's scorched wind still lingers on his tongue, like a warning carried home. A young lieutenant clears his throat timidly. General, what should be reported to the Emperor? Kanoi doesn't answer immediately. A single bead of barley tea slides down the side of his cup. Catching light, trembling, the moment stretches. Finally, he says quietly, we must report that Hiroshima no longer exists in any form we can comprehend. The lieutenant swallows hard. Shimizu whispers what they are all thinking, but afraid to say. Sir, if the Americans can do this once, they can do it again. Kano's gaze hardens, though sorrow pools behind it. They will, he says, and the carriage sinks deeper into silence. Each man suddenly aware that the war they thought they understood has shifted into something monstrous, something beyond bombs, beyond strategy, beyond courage. When Konoe and his officers finally return to Tokyo, the capital feels different, not just damaged, not merely exhausted, but fragile in a way no one dares articulate. The streets outside. Imperial headquarters are crowded with civilians carrying buckets of water, salvaging debris, whispering rumors that shift like shadows. But none of them know the truth yet. No one can imagine it. Inside the briefing chamber, the air is thick with sweat and ink. Maps rustle. Officers pace. Everyone has questions, but no one has the vocabulary for answers. Konoe enters without ceremony, walking straight to the large central table. His boots leave faint dust from Hiroshima on the polished floor, dust that once belonged to a city. He sets down his leather diary, flattening its cover with trembling fingers. General Anami, War Minister, watches him closely. Report. The word cuts through the room like steel. Konoe swallows. His mouth is dry as paper. Hiroshima has ceased to function as a city. A murmur ripples. Someone inhales sharply, but Anami's eyes narrow. Explain. Konoe's gaze drops for a moment, as if gathering courage from the floorboards. There are no structures, no districts, no bodies, no fire, only the suggestion that something was once there. Suggestion. The word terrifies the room. He continues, voice carrying the tremor he can no longer hide. The destruction is uniform, circular, complete. Buildings did not collapse. They disintegrated. Another officer steps forward, face pale. Disintegrated? General, that is impossible. Konoe shakes his head. I saw it. The earth itself melted into glass. Silence expands, swallowing oxygen. In the back, a young aide whispers to another. If the Americans have such a weapon, why would they treat our prisoners well? Why offer water, food, kindness? Konoe hears him. He turns slowly, eyes dark. Because mercy and power can coexist. And sometimes kindness is the sharpest reminder of defeat. Anami leans forward, fists tightening. General Kono, do you believe this weapon can be used again? The room holds its breath. Konoe's answer is a soft, devastating exhale. Yes. The lamps flicker, as if recoiling from the sound of inevitability.